Could the Miami Heat, including LeBron James, actually have won a bunch more titles had they stayed together, had LeBron not left and joined the Cleveland Cavaliers? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe. In fact, about 80% of our viewers right now are not subscribed to the channel. If that includes you, make sure you do hit that subscribe button as we push for 10,000 subscribers. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, how you doing? Pat Riley has some thoughts on LeBron and what happened in Miami, what could have been in Miami had he not left.
Yeah, I wanted to start off by asking you this. How literally / seriously did you take the not one, not two, how seriously did you take that? Do you really think they would have, if things worked out the way they wanted, for example, they win that Mavs year, so on and so forth, do you think they really would have tried to push for 6, 7, 8 championships? Do you really think LeBron was serious with that?
I don't think they were serious that they were going to win that many. I think they were just, trying to hype everybody up and making a bold claim. Mm-hmm. I think it's part of the reason why the vast majority of basketball fans, not Heat fans, basketball fans, were rooting so heavily against them, especially in that first championship run against they didn't win it, but against the Dallas Mavericks. So so many people were rooting for the Mavs in that series. And I think that was part of it. It just felt like it was, I don't know if I want to say arrogance, but certainly a kind of a bragging element to it coming through. And people were frustrated, certainly, with the way that whole situation played out.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because that's a very polarizing thing. It's one of the things that LeBron, opposite, people that don't like LeBron try to use to discredit him in that tenure. Is there's a bunch of things they say, but that's one of the things is they'll say, they thought that they were going to win this many. I am like you. I don't really think they really wanted, they wanted to, but I don't think they really thought they were going to win 6, 7, 8. I felt like it was pretty much in jest, but that's a part of this topic too, right? So let's see what we have.
Sure. I mean, if they really did that, let's say they win 7 straight championships, that's beyond the basketball equivalent of like Babe Ruth calling a shot or something. If you say you're going to do it ahead of time and then you go, if they did it, then of course they'd be pointing back going, see, we said it. We told you, we told everybody we were going to do it. And then we did it. I just can't imagine they were really that serious, or if they really thought it was going to be that easy just by teaming up. But here's what Pat Riley had to say recently about that team and what they would have done had they stayed together. Let's check this out. Pat Riley, again, the architect of this team to a degree, right? Here we go.
It didn't upset me, but it hurt me that we couldn't keep that team together because I think it was a 5 or 6 championship team. I really do. If we could have kept them all together and stay healthy from that standpoint. But the nature of the game is what it is.
Okay. That's from the OG show. A 5 or 6 championship team. They won 2. Personally, Donnie, I think Pat Riley is, I guess let me preface this. He's getting a statue in front of crypto, right? In LA. Pat Riley is great. He is a Laker legend. I do not mean to speak ill of Pat Riley, but the man is insane. He's insane. The 5 or 6 championships, had they stayed together, we're just like taking shots inadvertently, I think, at the Golden State Warriors. How are they going to win 5 or 6 championships? You're just dismissing the Warriors as an opponent and assuming that the Miami Heat would steamroll them, and I just don't buy that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because if LeBron is on the Heat, there's a lot of things that kind of change. Obviously, the entire Cleveland piece of it, that maybe they win that first year where LeBron was mostly by himself, 15 playoffs or all that stuff. I don't know if they get that win in 16, though. What happens with Durant? Does Durant wind up going there if they get that championship? I don't know. What about the bubble year? Do they win that year? The Heat wound up making the finals technically, but that's a very different roster. So you got to play whack-a-mole with all the different ripples that kind of change with LeBron there. I don't know if they would get 5 to 6, especially when you contextualize the ones that they did actually wind up winning. But yeah, I think maybe they could have got 1 or 2 more, but I don't know if they would have got 3 or 4 more,
Well, okay, so let's say that you replace all the years now, and we're also then making the assumption, I guess, that LeBron just stays with Miami forever, right? Yeah. That he does not leave, he doesn't become a Cav again, he doesn't become a Laker, and he's just with Miami the entire time. Okay, so if that happens, obviously there's an insane butterfly effect right across the NBA of different things that are going to happen as a result of that going down. But just looking at what the way things really went, Dallas beat them in 2011. That was the first year. The Heatles were together, the big three. Then you had 2 championships, one against the OKC Thunder, one against the San Antonio Spurs. Then they lost the next year to the Spurs. And then that was that. Then LeBron went back to Cleveland. But Chris Bosh, remember, only played, a couple of more years, and then he had to retire due to his blood clot issues. So, are we assuming that Miami, without Bosh, with just Wade, and maybe it's a diminishing Wade, that they're going to win? And you went back and forth, right? You went 4 straight years, which, good Lord, if you weren't a Cavs fan or a Warriors fan during that time, 4 straight years of Cavs Warriors in the finals. Do we just assume it would have been 4 straight years of Heat Warriors instead?
Maybe with that version of LeBron, maybe you do get that. I think that he still would have been able to kind of run through the East the way that he did.
Sure.
And still,
and that's another thing that people try to discredit him with, is by saying that the East was so weak. That was why LeBron led his team to 8 straight finals appearances.
I'd also say on that topic that that's actually not a good thing for him, because all it does is it puts him in a position where he's in the finals versus probably a better team that, if you look at the odds, he's favored to lose against, and all it does is stack on his record that he lost that final series. So I actually think that's not really been a great thing. But the opposite coin is people will say, well, look at the longevity, look what he accomplished regardless of winning. So maybe for those people that is a good thing, but for me, I don't really like it so much. But not to discredit it, I think it's amazing that he went to like 10 finals or whatever it's been so far. But yeah, I think there's a huge ripple effect. I do think that, like I said, they run through the East there. That first Golden State year, I think they probably have a shot there, but it really just depends what the roster looks like. You would have had Bosh there, but you would have had Wade in what was probably, looking at D Wade, probably one of his last 2 actual good seasons before he just turned into like a role player. He played 74 games in 30 minutes, 19 points that year. He might have also been an all-star that year, 15, 16. So yeah. Oh, we're looking at 14, 15 actually. Yeah, Wade was still pretty good that year too. I don't know. It's kind of tough. Do you think they get that finals?
Cleveland won one against the Warriors. They won once. They won a title in 2016.
Yeah, but there's a ripple, right? Because KD, maybe he just doesn't go there if they win that.
Well, that's the other thing that I wanted to get to here. So I think that let's assume everything plays out exactly the same, and Kevin Durant is a Golden State Warrior and all of that. I always say maybe the Heat win. Rather, you had 4 straight Cavs Warriors series. If it was Heat Warriors, I'm going to say that maybe the Heat win 2 of the 4 instead of like what the Cavs did, winning 1 of the 4. Okay. So I would say they win 2. So that puts them up to 4. But again, Pat Riley 5, 6, saying there was a 5 or 6 championship team. It's not impossible, but I think the other thing is, does Kevin Durant, not only does he join the Golden State Warriors, but does he feel able to join the Golden State Warriors? Like, did LeBron going to Miami, facing all the heat, all the criticism that he did that pave the way for Kevin Durant to feel like he is allowed, that it's a possibility for him to go and join? And he took a lot of flack, but he was also following LeBron's example of, hey, let's go team up with a bunch of other stars, make sure I win a championship so that one day after my playing days are done, nobody can say, but you never won. Let's make sure I get a ring. And KD went and signed with the Warriors. I wonder if KD feels like that's even a path for him if LeBron decides to stick with the Heat and doesn't then leave and go. I mean, first of all, he went to the Heat, but doesn't then leave and go back to Cleveland. Does that make Kevin Durant, if you see LeBron jumping around a couple of times like that, does that empower Kevin Durant to also leave the Thunder?
Yeah, I think he still does if everything stays the same. The thing with KD was, is that the contract situation, the NBA situation with the money, all that stuff, it kind of lined up there. But the Cavaliers were also heavy trying to push him, or trying to sign him as well. They just lost out on it. But maybe if all things stay the same, he winds up going to the Heat. Who knows? Like that could have been a thing. Although to be fair, he likes to try to go against LeBron, so maybe not. But maybe he finds another team to go to. But if he goes to Golden State in this theoretical still stays there, he might even maybe since maybe things are different for him and he's perceived a little bit differently, and maybe he stays. Maybe he doesn't leave and go to Brooklyn and all that stuff. So who knows how things truly look for KD in the long run. But definitely a pretty crazy situation just because LeBron dominated the East for so much and the Heat kind of fell off the map for a little bit there until Jimmy came and they started to rebound. I wanted to ask you about the 19 through current years as well, though. What about those seasons, 2019 and onward? Do they win any in that stretch?
Yeah, I think maybe that's where Pat Riley could say, but I still don't think, I mean, are they beating the Denver Nuggets in 2023? That Nuggets team, I mean, we've seen it. They were just hitting absurd shots and they were on such a roll. I don't know that they win that series. Are they getting there over the Giannis Bucks?
What happens in 2020? Like who's coming out of the West that year?
What happens in 2020? Yeah, I mean, that's the question, right? In the West, it was the Lakers. I mean, I would say the Clippers, but they decided to blow a 3-1 series lead in that year's playoffs. Is
it the Nuggets then, or
maybe it's the Nuggets? I guess I think if it's the Nuggets, the 2020 Nuggets, I don't think they were ready yet. I would think the Heat win in that one. So maybe that's where Pat Riley gets to that 5, if that's how we're looking at it.
Yeah, I think they would have needed to have retooled this roster because by this point, Wade is on his last leg. Bosh is out of the league. I don't know that he got back in the league, did he? After the health thing, he might have came back for a minute, but I don't know that he was around at this point anymore. So they would have had an entirely new cast around LeBron, and that's just natural cast movement. It has nothing to do with the GM sometimes going in his bag and saying do this, do that. So maybe couple years prior to this, they already had a whole new cast, and they flipped over the roster a couple times since. I'm not really sure how things look when you get this deep into it. But yeah, I think the real stretch is the Warriors stretch. But if you say they're going to win, 2 in that stretch, they won the 2 that they already did. Then they win potentially one of those 19 and onwards. They win 5, 6 at that point.
I guess there's maybe I'm talking myself out of it because I just think of that era where he's with the Warriors. But if he stays with the Heat all the way from 2012 to 2024 to now,
that's a long time, man.
That is a long time. That's a long stretch there for him to potentially win some championships. Like, do they get there to the finals instead of this? And again, it would depend on how do you bounce back from losing Chris Bosh? How do you bounce back from Dwayne Wade falling off the age cliff? Yeah. What pieces are you able to add? What does all of that look like? And of course, that's the big unknown. If you take Jimmy, say, off of the Heat team in 2020 and replace him with LeBron, do they win a championship there? Obviously, it's not the Lakers in the finals there. So who is it instead? Yeah. There's all sorts of things that you'd have to figure out. I don't know. We'd have to get the DeLorean up to 88 miles per hour and go start messing around with this space-time continuum to get a real answer here. But yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I guess if Pat is really looking at it as though he stays with the Heat permanently, he never leaves. He doesn't go to LA. Then maybe they get there. Yeah. I will say if he still makes the jump to LA when he did, then the 5 or 6 thing, I don't think that happens.
Yeah. So Chris Bosh, by the way, back to him because he is a big part of this. He does not play again after that 15-16 season. So like you have to contextualize this entire thing around that and like whether or not they get guys like Bam in that stretch or how their development looks for their players. Do they turn into what they are now with LeBron in the system, which, could be something that doesn't happen the same way. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it would all be about how does Miami bounce back from those 2 things happening. Chris Bosh.
Yeah, because he left because he knew that they were like on their last leg. That's why. Yeah. I mean, he wanted to go back to Cleveland, but the underlying thing of that is that he saw that, Wade was nearing the end, which he was.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He realized it was time to get out. Now here's the important thing, Donnie, and everybody watching. This is what is truly important. Would Dwayne Wade's statue still look the same? Because if there was a way to avoid that, then maybe that's the world we need to be living in. We need to punch our way through the multiverse and find that world where that hideous, grotesque statue does not exist.
Why are we? How do we get on the statue?
I don't know. Lawrence Fishburne now has a statue in Miami.
Oh my god!
It's sure as hell is not Dwayne Wade. I hope Pat Riley's statue winds up looking much more like Pat Riley than Dwayne Wade's did.
Does LeBron get a statue for his actual Heat stint, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. All right, everybody. Well, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. So if LeBron stays in Miami, do they win? Not 5, not 6, not 7. How many championships do they win? Let us know in the comment section, and make sure you go check out our latest video, which is about Joel Embiid and the 76ers caught in a lie about where he was really at physically, and it was a lie that Joel Embiid himself wanted to perpetuate. He pushed the Sixers into it, according to reports. Juicy stuff. Go check that out right now.